Hey, everybody in Facebook world. It's George Carroll. Welcome to GCtv, where we are making shift happen. And I got a special guest here with me today, and I'm pumped about it. This is my brother from another mother. He's my soul brother, and he's got such a way of communicating with potency, with love, with wisdom that I think you're really going to enjoy if you're not familiar with Aaron Huey. So, but if you are familiar with Aaron, then you know. Aaron, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us.
George, my love, my secret hetero life mate. How you doing, man?
I'm doing mostly awesome. Mostly
Good.
awesome is kind of the state now. And, I love this conversation because, for those of you who don't know Aaron, he's an international speaker and presenter. He runs a multi-million-dollar organization helping youth at risk, teens at risk, and he'll share more about that. But he's just a huge light in the world. And he's got a particular, what we're going to share with you today, he's got a particular exercise that has really changed my life and a lot of people that I know's life. And he's been a guest presenter at my live events, Greatest Year of Your Life, at my Transformation Academy retreats. But this particular one, I think, is just so powerful, especially right now, as it relates to everything that's happening with COVID-19 and everything that's coming up for you as you're watching this. What are you done with? So Aaron, before we kind of jump into that, I'd love for you to share your story about like that moment in time when you were done.
So I think my life, the progress of my life has always stemmed, as I look back, from a series of doneness, right? And as I get into this phase of my life and beingness, I see doneness and havingness. And those are two things that I'm constantly weighing with each other, because I think they're very, very different mindsets. At so many seminars and personal growth and development work focuses on the pain of not having this, but that's neither havingness nor is it doneness. Doneness to me has been those emotional, impactful moments where everything changes. It has to, because you're done. I had a really good friend I've been on the phone with a lot yesterday, who had a relationship just come to an end. She was done. He was done. And he was heartbroken and felt lost. He just kept saying, I'm so lost. I'm so lost. I kept saying, that's a good thing, because if you're lost, it means you're not on the same path you've always been on, right? And George, you remember my story about Billy Box all those years ago, right? And that's one I love to tell. But one of the things that I said yesterday is like, if any corner of your current box, if any one of your walls looks like one of the walls of your old box, you're just one box over. And the goal is to be out of the box. So doneness. I was a drug addict for 14 years. And in fact, 4 days ago, I'm 22 years sober. So that's a big milestone of doneness for me, is 22 years of not drinking, using drugs. And that's because I was done. I was done with that life. And the moment it happened was so profound in impact. I could tell the story, the experience, the emotions come back and flooding back like it was yesterday. That was a big doneness in my life. And if I came forward 10 years past that, it was December 2009, December 25th. My wife and I were bankrupt. We were broke. And I had been teaching affirmations and manifestations and practicing and opening multiple bank accounts to split my money, but I wasn't really doing that. I was still lazy. I was still acting like an addict. I was still trying to find the easy path, the easy way out. I was taking all the right seminars for all the wrong reasons, and had begun teaching at these seminars. And in 2009, had a horrid falling out with a business partner who ended up with the contracts that were really the bread and butter. My kids' camps weren't doing well. My teen camps weren't doing well. The economy had bottomed out. And I was watching my children on Christmas morning, 2009, December 25th, 2009, not open presents because I was broke. I had fallen short of every goal that I had set. I had failed. And one of the hard parts was that I had really failed my daughter a second time. Because as an addict, I had failed her. I had failed her as a father. I was a fun dad, but I wasn't a responsible dad. And so there I was that morning, and I looked at the potential that I carried as a man, and I looked at the results that I had, and the two just didn't line up. And I kept expecting a parade based on my potential and not on my results. I kept expecting people to judge me on my intention and not on my actions. And watching my children suffer from my own misdeed, right? There's a saying in the Havamal, the Viking book of wisdom. With words, I got more words. With deeds, I got more deeds. And I was at that crossroads of words and deeds. My words had gotten me broke. And I was done. I was done being broke. I was done being poor. I was done borrowing money. I was done living off the goodwill of my in-laws. I was done telling my financial advisor that things were great when really things were at zero. And my children tried to make me feel better, because that Christmas morning I started crying, just seeing what was going on in front of me. And my son said, "It's okay. You know, the economy's been bad and your business partner." And here I'm looking at this 12-year-old boy who seems to have a better grip on financial understanding than I do. And my daughter was just sad. She was sad for me. And really, I was sad for her, because I had said I was done failing her, but obviously I still had to resolve my own failure as a father. And so that moment, I was really done. I was done for good. It was a never again moment. It was a vow. It was a scar. It was a mark. It was a tattoo of doneness. And I stomped outside, and I'm standing there in this snow, and I'm done being broke. I'm done not providing for my kids. I'm done not giving them everything they desire and everything I desire to give them. I'm done arguing with my wife about spending money that doesn't belong to us. It actually belongs to MasterCard or Visa. And we don't actually have this money, and me saying it's going to be okay. It wasn't okay. And I was done acting like it was all okay. And I just started screaming, standing there in the snow, "I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done." And the universe listened, because it was the first time that I was actually done. And that next Christmas, I took my kids to Jamaica. And since then, as my life has grown, as things have grown, as my financial, spiritual, physical, mental, emotional altars have been tended to on a daily basis, I put them both through college without debt. And I've bought properties that they live in and rent from my wife and I, and I've helped them buy cars. Never paid for their car insurance. I will never pay for a child's car insurance. Let's be clear. But I was able to do the things that I wanted to do that made me feel like a good provider and a good father. And if they ask for support, I can come from a place of knowing whether or not me helping them is actually helping them, or just making the pain points easier so they don't feel the pain and end up being done themselves, right? And that's the new, oh, George, when your kids get to, and they grow up and they're out of the house, they're like, "Dad, you know, I'm short on rent this month." And you're like, if I quench his thirst, will he ever learn how to get his own water, right? You know, but those are, you can do that from a place of consciousness and not a place of scarcity now. So that's the doneness. That's the experience that I had. And what I've done over the years at your events, at other events, is create an exercise of doneness that's allowed people to drop into the tangible experience of doneness. And it's an effective exercise. It's potent. It's powerful.
Yeah, it's very, I mean, every time you share the story, I well up, you know, because it hits home so much for me too. And having kids and wanting to be a positive influence in their life. You talk about that moment of being done. What happens in your psyche? What happens in your emotion? What happens in the universe when you cross that threshold of being done? And
You
real
know,
quick, for those of you listening in, I hope you're thinking about, God, what is maybe COVID-19 brought up for me that's been hiding underneath the surface that I'm done with, and how can you relate this to you? So, Aaron, yeah, jump in.
I think the reason why is because we expect things to resonate on a certain level for them to change, but real change resonates at such a core level. When a woman in abusive relationship goes, "I'm done." When parents who've been their child's an addict, and they've tried everything, and then they're like, we're done. Like we can't continue. When a man finally looks at his boss and looks at his business and looks at his life and says, "This is not my life, it's his, and I'm done. I'm going to go live my life." When an older woman says, "I'm going to move to Mexico and paint the ocean because that would make me happy. I'm done trying to make other people," and they do. Like, what is it from the saying "I'm done" to the do, right? The done to the do. What I recognize about the "I'm done" exercise is that there's a simplicity to it that we tend to muck up with overthinking and overdoing to be done, when really it is just a letting go of the thing that we keep doing, of the habit. Like, what is the thing that makes you say, "Today I start working out"? There's a pain point, there's a rock bottom. In addiction and recovery work, I get asked constantly, "Do you have to hit rock bottom before you can recover?" And the answer is yes. The question that then comes up is, do you know how to change where rock bottom is? Like, are you waiting to land, or are you creating a ledge to grab onto on the way down? Right? Because rock bottom is wherever you stop falling, wherever you say, "I'm done." But there has to be that cost and payoff experience where you recognize that the payoff to change, no matter how painful change is going to be, is going to be a fuck of a lot better than the pain you're feeling by continuing the habit, the behavior. And that's the key, because nothing's going to change until the cost outweighs the payoff. So what we do in seminars, and this is a standard tactic, and I think people go to seminars to experience this, is we inflate the pain point, right? We say, what is the habit that you keep living that holds you back? This is my exercise, George. What's the habit that you keep doing every single day, and you know it doesn't work? You know it's not going to push your life forward. You do it anyway. It's your bad habit. What's your bad habit? Oh, people, right there. It's procrastination. It's laziness. It's a distraction. I'm shiny object syndrome. And they write it down. They write down the thing they do every single day that they know. And that's the key. You already know what it is that you do that's keeping you from success. Write it down. Then, what's it cost you? Write that down. Really sit in that. What's it cost you? Financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Those are the 5 energies. And this bad habit, that's the thing about the dragon, right? It doesn't just burn the crops. It also takes the princess. It doesn't just knock down the blacksmith's house. It also kills the cows. It strips all 5 aspects of nurturance from you: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial. Write down what it's cost you in all 5 realms: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial. And then write down who else has suffered. And man, because I've done this work with you so much, George, in your rooms and with your amazing participants who constantly put themselves out there, and I've done this with the enlightened warriors who constantly will just give 100 to the process, right? And that's what we ask. Give 100 to the process, and then you get all the results. Full responsibility for the process, full benefit of the results. Is that you write down and you really sit with who else has suffered because you procrastinate, because you're lazy, because you're not paying attention to your finances, because you're still working a job that you fucking hate. And instead of doing the thing you know would bring you joy and would teach your own children, how to find joy in their life, right? But we work jobs we hate and then expect our children to be happy. It doesn't work that way, right? We set the stage for our children's success by being successful. Now comes the key. You've got the habit, the thing that you keep doing that's keeping you from successful. You've got the 5 mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial ways that it's cost you. You've got the list of who else has suffered, your children, your spouse, your parents. Now you got to share that with somebody. And you've got to be brutally honest. You've got to be completely transparent and open, vulnerable. You got to let them see your pain. And then they get to ask you one question. In the midst of you snotting all over your upper lip and tears streaming down your face, and they get to say, "Are you done?" And you will know in an instant if you are. You will know in an instant. It's so, but because you're looking, instead of avoiding all the things, oh my God, this sucks so much, I hate my job, but instead, I'm going to drink 3 glasses of wine and binge watch Game of Thrones, right? And the pain goes away. As long as you're watching TV and drinking wine, the pain goes away. Because that's why that's addictive, because it makes pain go away. When I was sober, I was sad. When I was high, I was happy. The fuck would I want to be sober, right? But it wasn't until the pain of being high outweighed having to face my sadness of not having a father, of being sexually assaulted at 18 years old, of being bullied as a kid, of not being successful, of my first marriage failing, of, right? But the moment I was sitting in that pain and someone says, "Are you done?" It's like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm done. I'm so done. I'm so done. I have this woman I've been working with who's just gone through a horribly painful breakup and was dealing with depression, was dealing with her own anxiety, was dealing with her loneliness and her sadness. And a month, I'm just checking in on her. She's not a client. I'm just, "How you doing, goddess?" Our thing, "How you doing?" And then one day I get a text, "I'm fucking done, Aaron." And that was it. Like I knew. I could tell by the text she was done, and she was done.
There's
Done
this
being lonely. Yeah.
There's a certain congruence that takes over your body, certain alignment that takes over your body when somebody is done, that I recognize. And I'm just picking up as you're talking, one common thread that I'm hearing that's, I think, so important to bring to surface here is I think the pain. I think a lot of times we try to avoid pain, but talk to us about the importance of maybe leaning into the pain or not resisting it as it relates to being done and finding the freedom that we're looking for.
You know, Eckhart Tolle, when his Be Here Now book came out and he talked about letting go, I was so frustrated by how he said it. We talked about things you had to let go. And people were like, "Well, how do you let go?" He's like, "Oh, you just let it go." It's like, what does that even mean? Like, that doesn't, give me my list. Where's my to do? Like, a daytime or this, right? But the congruency of the pain, when you decide, "I'm not going to live a life of pain anymore, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes." It's a simple thought. You don't muck it up with analyzing the pain. You don't muck it up with trying to avoid the pain. You don't muck it up with trying to distract yourself from the pain. Lean in. I love that concept where you see that thing come towards you and you know, whoop, this is where it hurts, and I run away, and you lean in and you actually meet it head on. Where I'm working with a client this morning, and she's just, "I hurt, I'm depressed." It's like, okay, we're just going to be depressed then. "Yeah, but I have my real estate and my children and my marriage and we're just going to be depressed." We have to be into the simplicity of, how do you feel? "Well, I'm really, my business, and I'm nervous that I'm this and this." I'm like, that's a thought. "I feel sad." You can go into the why with a therapist, but until you sit with the simple emotion, "I feel sad, I feel mad, I feel lonely, I am scared," until you're sitting with that singular experience, this is way too complex. And the complexity is what steers us away. The complexity of this idea that it will never, end, that this is as good as life gets, that's psychology. That's the work you got to do with a therapist. But to say, I'm sad, and then someone says, are you done? And if someone responds with, well, I mean, yeah, they're not. You know when you're done. Your body knows. The truth comes not from the mind, not from the heart, not from the soul, but the source of you that says, this is not the life that we signed up for. This is what we've been doing to avoid that life. And so it is a direct experience of your divine source. You shake, you cry, you scream, you yell. There's a vomitness of doneness. It's just and it's out. And when you're done, you feel hungry. And what you eat next is the key.
Talk about that hunger. What's that like when somebody is 100% done, fully congruent with being done? That hunger that sets in. Talk about that a little bit.
You know, I think the best example of this is talk about Motley Crue. I'm totally into metal. Can't stand Motley Crue. I love them as people. I've read all their autobiographies. But the reason why I read their autobiographies is because of how hungry they were for success. Right? They all wrote about sleeping on couches and on floors, and sometimes they would pool their money to buy a six-pack because that was the only way they could get calories in before a show. And they stood out on corners, handing out paper flyers, inviting girls to invite their friends. And they did all the footwork because they were so hungry for success that they were willing to do and live life at whatever level so that they could get their music in front of a people. That I admire. Versus I know an extremely talented musician who talks about when they were younger, they were the lead singer was a drug mule, and they never made it big. Unbelievably talented people, but they never made it big. But every time they would go somewhere to play a show, they would rent 3 hotel rooms and throw these kegers because they had tons of money, because the lead singer was a drug mule and was making $50,000 a run. And the guy told me, he said, we never made it big because we were never hungry for bigness. We were never hungry for having this. We always had. And one of the things that we have to understand is that our addictive nature, our addictive behaviors is a compensatory action towards having this. We feel a lack and a loss over here, right? If we don't feel whole, if we're not made complete by our mission, vision, passion, purpose, we will have hunger, and we will fill it with what? 3 glasses of wine and binge watching Games of Thrones, Facebook, pornography, smoking marijuana, exercise anorexia. You know, we will fill the hunger one way or another until you experience the hunger. When you truly vomit out everything that you've been filling yourself with, the bad habits, the compensatory, the maladaptive coping strategies, all the things that you've been filling up on, instead of the true greatness, when you get rid of it, when you say, I'm done, you're hungry because you're empty. That emptiness is still there. And that's what we've been avoiding the whole time. The emptiness that cannot be fulfilled unless it's with mission, vision, passion, purpose. My drug addiction came from feeling like my father never loved me enough to call me once. That's what it was like growing up without a father. I had a great dad, but that didn't fill me. Drugs filled me, or at least convinced me I wasn't hungry. Right? When I became truly hungry, the drive to give what I've never received, to give families what I never received from my father, that fills me.
Powerful. You know, I love everything about you, everything that you're saying here. If you're watching this, guys, get to an Aaron event or get to one of my events and I'll bring Aaron. But give yourself this gift of being done with the things that are self-sabotaging you and your world. And just for a quick wrap up, let's go over the quick, Aaron, if we can, just a quick overview of the framework so that people can take this home and practice it as best they can with themselves. So you talked about, what's the habit that's holding you back?
Right. The one thing you know what it is. Like that's the thing. It's very simple. You do it every day, and you know it. You know it holds you back. You write that down. Then the next thing is, what's it cost you? Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. And be really clear. Really clear. Get as detail oriented as you can. Next thing you write down is who else has suffered because of your bad habits. And then you got to share it with somebody. Now you can do this on Zoom. You absolutely can do this on Facebook. You can get out there and you can say, full disclosure, blah, and I'm done. And that's the shift we're looking for. And my challenge, my invitation for you is to go outside in your front yard and scream, I'm done. I'm so fucking done being broke. I'm done. And let them think you're crazy. Because if you want a crazy life, if you want a crazy sexual relationship with your spouse, your partner, your lover, if you want crazy financial abundance, if you want a crazy mental experience of life, if you want a crazy emotional intake and output of communication and connection, then you got to be fucking crazy. But if you want the standard norm, go be standard and normal. But that ain't the people who go to your rooms. That ain't the people who come to my rooms. Crazy is as crazy does. And it will reflect emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially in your life. So take a risk and let it go, be done.
Love it. Love it, Aaron. Love you, my man. Thanks for joining us and sharing your wisdom and your light, man. Appreciate you so much.
Love you back, George. And folks, if you've never met George Carroll, if you're from my neck of the woods and you haven't met this man, George Carroll, I've known him for a long time, 13 years now?
Ish, yeah.
13 years. He's one of the good guys in this industry. He's legit. This guy is legit. He's real and his stuff works. I love his events. Greatest year of your life.
Appreciate it, Aaron. Thanks for being on GCtv, and thank you all for tuning in. If you got something that really hit home for you or something that resonated with you, feel free to drop it in the comments below. And we'll see you next time on GCtv, where we're making shift happen. Thanks again, Aaron.